Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. Welcome. We have a full house tonight, a lot of exciting things going on. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Wendell Elementary School student Allison Sanchez. Allison is a fifth grade student at Wendell Elementary School. Math is her favorite subject, which I have tremendous admiration for that. And we have a lot of mathy people in here tonight, so they would like that. But, so good for you. She loves all girl things and time with friends, and recently placed fourth in the Wendell Elementary School Science Fair, which, congratulations, that's wonderful. I was up there and the projects were very good. I'm very proud of you for that. She always does her best. She's helpful, respectful, a hard worker, and a very good person all around. So we wanted to have you come in tonight and recognize you and then have you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Allison. Our invocation tonight is from the Wendell Council of Churches, the Wendell United Methodist Church, Reverend Wallace Johnson. How are you?
Hey, Mary Gray, doing fine. Happy Monday evening, everyone.
Evening.
Let's pray together. God, you who are our Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we are so grateful for this opportunity to gather together, to be the voice of the people, to be about your work in this community. I thank you for our elected officials, for Mayor Gray, for our commissioners, Joe and Braxton, and Deans, and John, and Jason. And we're grateful for their willingness to put up with all of the mess that Wendell people can throw at them, and they put a smile on their face anyway, for the most part. Lord, bless them as they lead us, guide them. And we're grateful for our town, for the beauty of it, for the gift of having this small town, big charm. It's a beautiful place. As we sit in this moment, as we celebrate some good teachers, some good football teams, some good students, we pause and remember it's a good place. We thank you for blessing us. Guide us into the bright future. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. It is a good place. That was really nice. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull out 3B if I could.
So you want to pull the item 3B out of the consent agenda to discuss in depth?
A couple of questions, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda with item 3B moved?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move item 3B to item 6A. All right, public comment period. The public can participate in public comment by signing up at the meeting if you attend in person and you have 3 minutes to speak, or you can submit written statements via email to the town clerk by Friday before the Monday's meeting. If you do that, please include your full name and address for the record, and they will be read into the minutes for 3 minutes. We have 2 people signed up tonight. Actually, the first is a twofer. It's Yvette Orcutt and Gina Whitman. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. And we just wanted to first say thank you for what you all do for the town. Thank you for coming and reading at our school, and our kids are ready to have you back.
I enjoyed it.
We started the year this year with just 13 kindergartners, and next year we are kindergarten, first, second, and third, and we have 37 enrolled for next year. So we are certified through North Carolina as a non-public education Christian facility, and we are going to be offering kindergarten through 12th grade with sports as well. So we just want to say thanks, and we brought Bucky here tonight. He's a little warm right now, so we're going to make this as quick
Bet.
as possible. But we did bring some magnets and business cards for you guys, and we just appreciate your support. We appreciate you partnering with us. All right?
Yeah, so I'm Yvette, and I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself. I've been at Central for 23 years. This education is not a new thing. It was a vision over 20 years ago. We started with our preschool 2010. We have 162 preschoolers now and 40 staff, and we're excited to take the next step with our lower grade schools. So thank you for partnering with us to offer this option to the community for education. So, Bucky, show them your back of your shirt, Bucky. Isn't he great? Thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right, the next person signed up for public
And
comment is
congratulations,
Caitlin Gooch.
ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Gooch. My address is 6400 Nightdale, Eagle Rock Road, Wendell, North Carolina. Enrollment for 4-H is now open, and it closes January 31st. As the president of the Wake County Horse Council and 4-H leader of Happy Hooves, I just wanted to inform everyone, please look on Wake County's website for a list of all the clubs. Our club, Happy Hooves, is a horse club, and youth that are ages 6 to 18 can join, and we meet once a month. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Remember, item 3B is gone.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda with the adjustment of item 3B.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into our recognitions, reports, and presentations. And item 4A is a very exciting thing that we're doing tonight, is the recognition of the Wendell Rams Mighty Mites team. Is Mr. Tookie in here? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, Mayor, Commissioners. It's really nice that you honored us by asking us to visit. This year was a special time for us. Special children, special coaches. For about 4 months, 3 nights a week practice and Saturday night game time, they worked hard, relentless. Coaches gave them everything they needed, from their love, commitment to teach them football, daddy, granddaddy, mentor to them. And, you know, I tell other coaches, it's not so much about the X's and O's anymore. It's when you reach that child, you can, he'll do anything, and he'll listen when he respects you. But we had an awesome season. It's undefeated, and I think we give up a couple of first downs and a couple of touchdowns in very, very strong league. We matched up with an opponent in the championship, 10-0. We're 10-0. They were a number 1 seed. We were a number 2, they said, and we were down 7-0 at halftime, and we told him at halftime, just be you. You don't need anything other than this second half. They're getting the ball to start with, it's okay. They've got to make a mistake soon, and we're going to capitalize on it. That'll open the door for us. We score a lot of points in the second half. So we beat them in that ball game, and it was a thriller. And you know, I'd put so much into it the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season in anticipation. We knew we were in the playoffs. We had a big ball game coming, and so when the buzzer went off at the end of the game, there was nothing there. That was all that it needed. It was for them. I come off the field after the congratulatory shakes on the other side, and the first person that I see and touch is our mayor. It means a lot, 9 and 10-year-old boys football, and come out to see us play. And these children were, not only were they very good football players, and let me tell you, they really worked. Some of them one year just had a complete turnaround. They bought in and listened, and they were special, did special things, not like on a 9 or 10-year-old level, but some of the boys are here. Y'all stand up. And all these kids right here make big plays. They faced off with an opponent that was just as, probably bigger than we were, as fast as we were. They were, you couldn't suit up against them. They just played good ball. They worked so hard in practice was like game time for them. They played together. I've got some coaches here that could probably coach on a much higher level, and they know ball. They're good for these children, and they administer it in a way that they're receptive to it. It's a winning formulation, and I'd like for you to introduce my coaches right here. Back here is Terry Hunter, my son, Brad Gully. Let's see, we've got Ryan Scoggins, Lynn Boykin, and Franklin Pierce are over here, Brandon Sloan, Rowdy right here. Yeah, what a year. I mean, it's almost like, not being boastful, but it's almost like winning the lottery 5 days in a row. It's just something that in my career has not happened like this. And we're grateful, and again, thank you for being there for us, all of you. And I got a little favor to ask of y'all soon. It's not much, but we need a little something. And I didn't want to come asking, and I won't. But we do pretty good down there. We're real smart with things, and we don't like to ask for much. But we need a little something. It ain't much. I tell you, I get the idea. In 1985, I won a big baseball championship in Wendell. We played in Charlotte and played Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida. And when I came back, and they asked me, what would you like to have? And I told them at the time, I said, I'd like a press box, a water fountain, and the flag to fly up at the fields. And they did that. But this is not that costly, and it's small. I promise you it's not. But again, I want to say thank y'all for having us, and we appreciate everything.
We just wanted to have you here and thank you for everything that you do. I have personally seen it for over a decade, more than that, maybe 2 decades, actually.
Maybe 3 or 4.
We're both getting old, aren't we? And I've seen the way you have handled children and given them someone to lean on. I've seen you buy shoestrings and cleats and dinner for children that didn't have dinner, and given rides to children that didn't have rides, over and over and over and over. And you've never told me that. I've just watched you. So I just want to thank you for everything you do, all of you, for our children in Wendell. It does not go unnoticed. And you're turning them into wonderful men and women for us, and good ambassadors for our community. And we thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank all of you.
All right, item 4B is the recognition of Wendell Elementary School staff member Ashley West. Miss West wasn't able to be here with us, but we still want to tell you, a little bit about her. Ashley West is a special education instructional assistant at Wendell Magnet Elementary School. She has a true love for her job and students that she serves. She builds positive relationships with everyone she comes in contact with. Ashley continuously goes above and beyond to support staff and student growth. Ashley is such a great asset to our school, and we're proud to have her as part of the Wendell Elementary School family. So we appreciate everything that she does, Ms. West, for our kids, and I've got a little gift for her that I will be seeing that she gets. I'm going to thank her anyhow, that she won't be able to be here. All right, we're going to move now to item 4C, the presentation of the 2024 property revaluation results. And we're going to hear from Mr. Marcus Kincaid.
Madam Mayor, did you want to take a recess for the?
Well, we can. I think they're heading out. Okay.
Thank you,
Give them a
Mayor.
minute to get outside the door. We usually do, but I think they were taking pictures during, so I think pictures got done. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Marcus Kinraid. I get a chance to come out here about once every 4 years, and it never fails. Two things happen. I always follow kids, and you never want to, as a tax guy, follow cute kids up to the podium. It never quite works out very well. And the second thing that always happens is I always get lost. There's so much growth in Wendell, and I don't come out here enough, and I get lost. And then to make that worse, you moved town hall this time, so I really had a heck of a time tonight, but I came early, so I appreciate the chance to come and present the results of the 2024 real property revaluation. So tonight, I just want to give you a brief description of what a revaluation is and why it's required, talk about the project itself. We have 427,500 parcels in Wake County, so it's a fairly monumental project to conduct. Give you the results, which I think you've already seen. Talk about the information we've made available to property owners, and then talk about next steps. So a revaluation is the process of updating all land and the improvements on the land to fair market value as of January 1, 2024. It's required by North Carolina general statutes to be conducted at least once every 8 years. A county can choose to do it more frequently. When I first started with the county, there were only a few counties in the state, and one county in the Big Ten that had shortened their cycle. Forsyth County was on a 4-year revaluation cycle when I started. Now, more than half of the counties in the state have shortened their cycle to at least 4 years, and only one county in the Big Ten, and that's Cumberland County, remains on an 8-year cycle. Every other county has shortened their cycle. And this is about equity and fairness in distributing the property tax burden. So what this includes is, again, land and the improvements on the land, residential, commercial, and exempt properties. Even though it's exempt, we have to value it. And our target is fair market value as of January 1, 2024, a hypothetical sale. Not all properties sell. Some properties haven't sold in 50 years, but we have to try to determine what a hypothetical sale would be. The effective date is January 1, 2024. And this affects 93% of the Wendell tax base. The other 7% is personal property, public utility property, and registered motor vehicles. Personal property would be business personal property, so computers and equipment, desks, things that a business would have, boats, aircraft, trailers, mobile homes, personal property. Public utility property is Progress Energy, PSNC, electric lines, gas lines. That's valued every year by the State Department of Revenue. And then, of course, everyone knows what registered motor vehicles are. We have to value those annually as well. So we use mass appraisal to perform our work, which is different than fee appraisal. If someone were to sell their home, typically they'll hire an appraiser. They'll come in, they'll inspect the property, they'll measure it inside and out, they'll look it over. They may charge $300 or $400 to do that work, and then they don't have to defend their work. We, on the other hand, have to value every property in the county. We generally do not physically inspect the property, as in getting out of the car and measuring it. Some we do, but it's infrequent. We spend about $19 per parcel doing our work, and then when we send out our notices, which we did late last week, then we have to defend our work. Some people don't really care for the work we do, obviously. So there's 4 parts to a revaluation. The first thing we do is we look at our valuation neighborhoods. We have about 5,100 valuation neighborhoods in the county. They may follow traditional neighborhood lines, or we may split a neighborhood if there's different types of properties in there. And the reason for having the valuation neighborhoods is we track all sales that occur within a neighborhood. And then we analyze those sales, determine if they're fair market value sales or not. And then we use those sales, or we extend them to value properties that didn't sell. Then we turn to valuing land, and generally we're looking at either land to building ratios on improved parcels or sales if we're looking at new subdivisions. Then we do field reviews. For this particular project, I'll show you this in a minute, we reviewed more properties in the field than any prior revaluation. And then we send out notices, and that starts the appeals process, and that's where we are today. So for this particular project, countywide, our staff inspected 177,455 parcels in the field, and we did office reviews of 248,800 properties. A field inspection generally is what you would think of as an appraiser driving through the neighborhood slowly, reviewing the properties from their vehicle, from the right-of-way, trying to gauge the condition of the property, and we have mostly targeted older neighborhoods to do that work. New neighborhoods where there's construction occurring constantly, our staff are in those neighborhoods constantly. Here's a 32-year snapshot of the history of revaluations in Wake County. This is countywide. You can see the tremendous growth from 165,000 parcels to today over 427,000 parcels. The taxable real estate tax base 32 years ago was 21 billion. Today it's closer to 272 billion in value. Wendell, I think, has actually probably grown similar to this, but not in the last 32 years, more like the last 10 years. Countywide, you can break our parcel count down, 403,800 residential parcels, 23,600 commercial properties. For Wendell, 7,160 total parcels, of which 6,767 are residential. Countywide, here's the results, 51% increase in the real estate tax base, which can be broken down to 53% residential, 45% commercial. For the town of Wendell, total increase on the real property of 65% overall, which is 63% increase on residential, 75% commercial. If you want to see the statistics of your peer jurisdictions in Wake County, Wendell led the way. 65% overall increase led the county. You can see the rest. Apex, Holly Springs, and Fuquay-Varina were in the high 50s, but tremendous growth. In 2016, I asked the county commissioners to shorten our cycle because I said 8 years is far too long, and we need to get some of the sticker shock out of this valuation. Now on a 4-year cycle, we've seen the biggest growth we've ever seen, so back to the drawing board, that didn't quite work out so well. Jurisdictionally, this is an overview of the entire town of Wendell. It's kind of hard to pull anything out of this. I looked up that 160% plus increase, and that was a small area where the lot values increased from 5,000 to 13,000 in value. So although it's a big percentage, it's still pretty small value. This data is available on our website for download. If your staff wants to pull this down, they can do a comparative view of property level increases and zero in on areas if they want to pull that data down. And then in terms of the median residential increase for a property prior to the reval, $237,900, post reval, $359,000. So that's about a 51.5% increase for the median value of a residential home in Wendell. Your commercial base has increased from 286 million to 500.9 million. That was driven by apartments. That apartment increase right there was mostly driven by one apartment complex out in Wendell Falls. And then industrial and mini storage also performed well. And that's pretty well consistent with the countywide results. In terms of shift, there was a slight shift off of residential to commercial in Wendell, a 1% shift. So pre-reval, you were 81% residential. Post-reval, 80% residential. So in terms of your residential property owners, that's a good thing. A little bit of the burden was shifted to commercial. In terms of tax liability, of course, you'll all be working on a revenue-neutral tax rate, which would need to be reported in your budget ordinance. What you ultimately adopt will be driven by your spending priorities, but your tax rate should hypothetically come down quite a bit. That would also apply to people's vehicle taxes, so everyone should pay less on their personal property bills post-revaluation. In terms of average growth through the cycle, that's a factor that you will need in order to compute your revenue-neutral tax rate. Wendell, again, led the county with a 13.31% average growth for the 4 years of the cycle. A lot of growth. When we started this project in the spring of '22 and we looked at the market countywide, we were already at 60% of market value in the spring of '22. So just 2 years into the 4-year cycle, we were 40% below market value. And if we knew if things continued like this, it would be just a astronomical increase for the revaluation. So we really focused on our tools. We had to get new tools for transparency to help us with the appeals. And so I'd like to go through what we've done since the spring of '22 to help people understand both revaluation and how to appeal if they disagree with our values. So we gave your clerk some brochures. These brochures were in the notices that we mailed out. I've got several copies in case anyone shows up and needs one. That brochure is basically the key to all the tools that we have available on our website. There's also some business cards there that have our contact information. I'd encourage you all to keep some of those in your pocket. If you go somewhere and someone asks you questions about the revaluation, you can give them the card, and it has all of our contact information. So our website has been revamped to include a lot of information. We have frequently asked questions. We tried to think of every question we've ever been asked and give a good response to it. There's a video on there if someone wants to appeal that walks them through the entire process if they want to appeal. We put the revaluation statistics there that someone can look at. They can carve up the tax base of their jurisdiction and see how it's broken down. We put a revenue neutral tax calculator out there. People can see the county's revenue neutral rate, the fire district revenue neutral rate, and if those rates were adopted, what it would affect their tax liability. We have a residential sales GIS map, so you can put in your address on this particular tool and it will pull up sales of similar properties that are around you, so you can sort of see where we're coming from. We don't just rely on the sales approach in doing our work, but this is a tool so someone can sort of see if we're, somewhere in the ballpark. Or if we're not, they can submit this to us as evidence that we're wrong. Again, we have this revenue neutral tax calculator. People can see their county tax at neutral. They can see their fire district tax at neutral. Whether or not those rates will be adopted will be driven by the budget. Again, there's a video out there. If someone wants to file an appeal, they'll have to look at me again, and I'll try to walk them through how they can file appeal if they want to. Tax relief. So state law mandates what's allowed in terms of tax relief. There's 3 different options. The first is called the homestead or elderly exclusion. This is age and income based, or if someone doesn't qualify by age, they must be 100% disabled. The income threshold is currently $36,700, and that's income from all sources. It's not adjusted gross income, it's not net income, it's income from all sources. And that $36,700 threshold is the same in all 100 counties in the state, uniformly the same. Now, $36,700 is a pretty low income to live in Wake County and own a home. So, and we all acknowledge that, but that is the requirement. There's also a deferment program. Yep. Yes, sir. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna, can people qualify for one or more of these at a time? For instance, if I'm a veteran who's 78 years old, but I'm 100% disabled, I was explaining after y'all's great press coverage on some of these things, these options to someone, and the question was posed to me, well, I'm a 100% disabled veteran, but I also probably qualify for the first one.
If they qualify for both, then they would probably be better off trying to apply under the elderly exclusion, because there they get a 50% discount off of their entire value. With the veterans exclusion, they only get a $45,000 value reduction. So if anyone has questions on that, they can call us and we can talk about what would be the better benefit for them. But for us to put both on at the same time and double dip, no, you can't do that. Yeah. Again, there's a tax deferment program. This basically caps someone's tax at a percentage of their income. It's a higher income threshold, and it's not very popular because it's a deferment, it's not an exclusion. So if there's a disqualifying event, the property owner or their heirs has to pay the deferred tax back. In the county, countywide, there's only 115 properties that have elected to take the deferment. In Wendell, there's 0. And then there is the veterans exclusion. A veteran who has a 100% service-connected disability, regardless of their income, can qualify for a $45,000 reduction off of the value of their home. I will say that if you all have some sort of a newsletter or something that you regularly send out information to your citizens or an email list, you could probably help by making them aware of this program. I looked, there's only 59 properties in Wendell that currently qualify for the elderly exclusion. And I've got to believe there's probably a lot more that should qualify if they knew about it, so.
One quick question on
Yes,
this
sir.
slide additionally. On the deferment program, understanding that it's not extremely popular, the potential liability for needing to pay back deferred taxes is only 3 years though, right?
3 years.
So there's not a, I've been in this program or
Right.
grandma's been in this program for 20 years and now we've got 20 years worth of taxes we have to pay back. It is just the
yes,
last.
Just the last 3. The ones that are prior to that, they age out and fall off. Yep. So in terms of the schedule, we are basically at the point where we have sent out the notices and we've started the appeals process. We'll be accepting informal appeals through March 1st. An informal appeal, people can fill out the questionnaire that we put in the notice of value, mail that back to us, just answering some simple questions about their property, or they can use the real estate ID and the access code to file an informal appeal online, ask the same questions. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's very informal. It's just our staff reviewing what they submitted to see if there's any way for us to make an adjustment. Typically, this is a discrepancy in the data, something like that we can see clearly there's something wrong, make an adjustment that may affect the value, and we'll send notices back of our decisions hopefully by the end of April. If someone does not want to file an informal appeal, they can wait until March 2nd to file a formal appeal to the Wake County Board of Equalization and Review. The last day to do that is May 15th. The Board of E&R will be appointed by the county commissioners at their first meeting in March. It's basically residents who have knowledge through business experience of the local real estate market. Most of them are retirees. We have a good mix of former city council, county commissioners, retired appraisers, attorneys, accountants, university professors, things like that. It's a good mix of people. We break them up into sub-panels. We'll have 3 sub-panels working on residential appeals and 3 sub-panels working on commercial appeals. It's an all-day, typically an all-day event. The Board of E&R will meet 2 to 3 times a week from April until they're done. And it will probably be October or November before they're done. Because of this big value increase, I would expect a fairly hefty amount of appeals. Our call center number, if anyone has any questions, is up there. It's 919-857-3800. I expected that we would get quite a few calls today after residents had the weekend to review our work, and we did have quite a few calls today, but fewer than I expected, so that was good. Our revaluation email address is up there. If someone sends us an email, we'll do our best to reply back same day. That's revaluation@wake.gov. Or if someone wants to come downtown and actually talk to us, they can do that too. I just wouldn't really recommend it. Parking's a problem downtown, so. And with that, I will try to answer any questions that you all have.
Any questions from the board?
I'll just quickly, I'll kick us off for
We
a
don't
second.
have
But
any.
just quickly, I really don't have any questions. But thank you for your time. I mean, you started out, it's never popular to follow a group of kids, much less to come talk about taxes. And nobody likes to talk about anything related to taxes and increases. Now, this is not you coming to announce tax increases, and I think you did a great job of laying that out, and I think that's an important thing for folks to really understand about what this does mean. And at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, I think everybody that looks at these numbers and also knows the history from the slide that you showed of revaluations in the county and just how property values have worked in the past would get a little bit of a sticker shock from seeing the numbers. That being said, I think anybody who's lived in the last 4 years, which is what the time period that this is covering, probably not the first time you've had sticker shock associated with a price figure. And I mean, I don't think it's a secret or a big surprise to anybody who's been in Wake County, especially since before COVID, that houses are a lot more expensive. We went through a massive housing boom. There's just a lot of pressure on all the property, and that, I mean, I get that it costs more. And I guess just close with the thing that I think is the most important about why, even though a lot of us probably freak out when we see our individual bill and realize that our home value on which our taxes are based has increased by some, tens of a percent, it just means that we're going to get taxed on the accurate value of our home and our property, and all our neighbors are going to be the same way. So I mean, ultimately, I do think that the value here is to have good data for us in the county to base our taxing on. I mean, that is the bottom line here. And so I think the big thing for everybody to really understand is the appeals process, because I imagine you would be the first to tell us that when you run through a few 100,000 estimates like you have, there's going to be some number of mistakes just from a rule of big numbers. That's going to happen. And various circumstances that people will know individually as property owners that they can bring to your attention in those circumstances and have corrections made where appropriate. I think understanding that process is important, and then understanding the programs that the county, thanks to state guidance, does provide for deferment and reductions of tax rates. I don't think that those are programs that we as local governments probably advertise as well as we could. And I hope that we as a board and the town, and I mean, y'all are already starting on the right step, will do more to make sure that folks know that what those thresholds are to be able to qualify for a lower tax bill, a deferred tax bill, and encourage the folks that apply for them to take advantage of them. But thank you for your time. I know there's a ton of work that goes into this, and you'll have a lot more work to do for the rest of the year.
And I think one more thing for the record, to piggyback on what Commissioner Eatman said, I think it's important for the people that are watching this and watch this later as the days and weeks to come. Your job is to set the valuation. It is this board's decision to set the tax rate. And I'm sure that process will be sporty and will be interesting to watch. Thank you, sir. One more question before I let you go. I had someone run some math, and I won't get into the who or the why, we'll protect the innocent. Is there a rule of thumb that you have if the valuation is X amount, i.e., let's say that, he's got the comps or she's got the comps, and you're off by 15%, you're off by 5%. So before they waste their time, I hate to say that, with an appeal process or go through the formal process, in your mind, is there, hey, you're 3% off, we're probably not going to move. You're 15% off, we're probably going to think about that.
Yeah. So industry standards say that if we're within 10%, it's good. We have enough data in Wake County that our goal is 5%. So I would tell someone if they feel like we're 5% over, they need to tell us why.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would just clarify that I hope that, well, one, we will set the rate when we go through our budget process, and I don't know what a sporty rate looks like or a interesting one to watch play out. I have generally found that it is relatively boring and comes back from staff with a revenue neutral rate, but allows us the budget-making process to set the exact rate. I appreciate y'all sharing with folks that this is the first step in a longer process. And I think, Mr. Kennedy, the information you provided us is quite helpful in allowing us to be good resources for our community. And I want to thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you for the information.
You're
I'll
welcome.
definitely put some of those in my purse. Thank you. All right, we'll move into our public hearings. Item 5A is a public hearing to annex and rezone approximately 7.3 acres from Wake County Heavy Commercial Conditional to Town of Wendell Corridor Mixed Use. Ms. Griffin.
I was waiting on that to change. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Good evening. Again, you do have before you a public hearing for annexation and rezoning of approximately 7.3 acres from Wake County Heavy Commercial Conditional Use to Town of Wendell Corridor Mixed Use Zoning District. Aaron Catlett, on behalf of Hale Trailer Brake and Wheel, is requesting to rezone, sorry, it's 3.06, it's a total. There's two parcels located there, sorry about that. Off of Wendell Boulevard, near the intersection with Highway 97, from Wake County Heavy Commercial Conditional Use to Town of Wendell Corridor Mixed Use. Hale Trailer is a trailer manufacturing and sales facility that's replacing the former Rampant trailers that has been in that location for some time at 1000 and 1001 Picayune Lane. Currently, 1000 Picayune Lane is zoned Town of Wendell Corridor Mixed Use, and 1001 is zoned the Wake County Heavy Commercial Conditional Use, which gives the property and the business two different zonings with two different jurisdictions. So rezoning the 1001 parcel will make both parcels in Wendell's jurisdiction and zoned CMX. The applicant has also submitted the annexation petition and does qualify for annexation. You see the property PIN number there before you, and again, meets the eligibility requirements. There in red and outlined is the parcel that is being requested to be rezoned and annexed, adjacent to the existing CMX parcel. And you see the surrounding properties as well. The subject property, again, is in Wake County's jurisdiction now. On the north side of the property is Wendell Middle School and a commercial office building. To the south are a church, a single-family home, and a vacant lot. To the west, you have a vacant lot, and to the east is another commercial lot owned by the same owner. The request is for Town of Wendell CMX, which is coded to provide pedestrian-scaled, higher-density residential and neighborhood-serving commercial uses along existing mixed-use corridors. Developments in this district should encourage pedestrian use through connections to adjacent neighborhoods and construction of mixed-use buildings. Since this is a general rezoning, one thing to note is that even though the intent is continue operating the Hale Trailer and Brake as it currently is, everything in the CMX zoning district would be permitted on this property as it's a general rezoning, not a conditional district rezoning. The use chart was included in your packet as well. The property is located within the Gateway Overlay Context Zone 2, which would have some additional requirements, especially for buffering. And that property is, around it, there's a vacant properties, and it's next to Wake County's jurisdiction, so there aren't perimeter buffers required there. There is a gateway overlay street yard buffer that's required, 3 canopy trees or 6 understory trees, and 12 shrubs per 100 linear feet. The applicant in this case did, in an effort to show that they were willing to comply with that gateway overlay buffer, they provided us with a landscape plan. Staff did review that, and a bond has been presented to us for the work pending the season change as well as this rezoning. They would plant those again when the weather is appropriate to do so. Blueprint Wendell 2030 does classify this area as Activity Center 2. Retail is an appropriate use in the Activity Center 2 place type, as you see there before you. Any recommended change to the zoning map should be accompanied by a statement explaining how the change is or is not consistent with the comp plan and is or is not reasonable in nature. This rezoning, if approved, would be consistent with the Activity Center 2 place type, as retail is listed as an appropriate use and could be considered reasonable as it assists with the planned goal of economic vitality, with the points of offering mixed uses to increase the tax base, to live, work, learn, recreate, and shop in Wendell, to increase employment opportunities, especially at 87, and to support small business. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting as required back November 2nd. The meeting minutes are in their packet. The staff would support this rezoning as it's consistent with the comp plan and is considered reasonable in nature. The planning board did vote 7-0 in a motion to recommend approval of this rezoning. You see the members there before you voting for and against. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I might, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Is there any questions from the board? Okay, would the applicant like to be heard now? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Gray and Commissioners. My name is Erin Catlett. I'm with Fox Rothschild, 434 Fayetteville Street, Suite 2800 in Raleigh. I'm here on behalf of Hale Trailer Brake and Wheel. With us tonight is also Justin Matthews, right here, and Jonah Kraus, both with Hale. Staff, Stacy has done an excellent job presenting our case. There's not a whole lot to add to this. We really are just requesting to bring these 2 adjacent parcels, operating as one facility, into the town of Wendell and to align the zoning to match. As Stacy shared, one parcel is already in the town of Wendell zoning designation as CMX, so we're really just trying to bring that other parcel in and align that zoning. Hale is excited about being a part of the town of Wendell. As Pastor Johnson said, and you as well, Mayor Gray, it is a good place, and they are looking forward to being a part of this good place. Of course, they will be contributing to the tax base as well, which is always good news. We've worked closely with staff. We thank them for their work throughout this process to make this transition smooth. As I mentioned, Justin is here. I'm here. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
I have one quick question. As a rule, do we put an impact on what it takes us to get the water and sewer? Presumptively, once you're in the town limits, we provide those things. Do we have a number on what that costs us?
I do not have a current number of that. They are not planning to extend any utilities. If they needed any extensions, it would be at their cost if they develop the site further.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak about the rezoning and annexation request? Nothing from the board either. All right, we'll close the public hearing. And
Madam Mayor, I move we approve.
go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the proposed annexation and rezoning request, and also move that we adopt the attached ordinance.
All right, we have a motion to approve the proposed annexation and rezoning requests and adopt the ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, great. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move into our administrative items, and we're going to take up item 3B, which was a fee in lieu request for a portion of roadway for the Edwards subdivision. I see Mr. Coates on the way. Yep. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. So the item that was on consent is roughly for 32 feet of road work in Lake Glad. It's part of the Edwards subdivision project which happens quite frequently. Along borders of properties, there are wetlands or streams. And in this case, they're asking for roughly 32 feet of improvement to be a fee in lieu, as the piping for the road improvements and the stormwater and stream underneath, they would have to go on neighboring properties to actually do the full work, which is they're not able to. We worked with them to whittle it down to the smallest fee in lieu possible, which is what's before you tonight. That fee in lieu of $55,000 we can use for other road improvements. And these items occasionally come before you. Typically, a lot of them are related to streams or wetlands being along a property line. In this case, they're unable to do that environmental work. The permitting of that work is included in the estimate reviewed by our town engineering.
So 2 quick questions. Let's see if I can figure this out. So I get that you can't make a road, I hate to say to nowhere, but you can't make a road halfway through a creek. I understand that. My question is, if someone develops the other side next week, next month, next year, 10 years from now, the $55,000 that we take in today, are we obligated, must we, if the other side makes that abutment and comes to the halfway point, essentially, do we then have to meet them with that same $55,000 in the future? Are we obligated to do so?
It's the town's choice how that $55,000 gets spent. It has to be spent on road projects, but it could be for a project on Lake Glad, but it could be at other intersections or road improvements.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, so do we have a motion to approve the fee in lieu request?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right. Let's move into our other business, updates on board committees by town board members, and we'll start with Campo. Commissioner Eatman.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a meeting last week, covered a lot of the same topics that I normally talk about, but I want to focus on one different topic specifically that came up, which is US 1 to Wake Forest and Franklin County has been a corridor that for a long time has been targeted for big improvements and with the ultimate goal of making it a freeway interstate standard, basically from 540 all the way up sort of to the Franklin County line. That's a project that over time has been on the cusp of being funded and then not funded, and right now it's, according to DOT, it's probably the 2040s before that project would be able to move forward. So the local governments in Franklin County and Wake Forest as well all have gotten together and voted to ask that Campo, again, you know, we do the transportation planning work and sort of direct a lot of the transportation investments that are made in the region. Those local governments, which are part of Campo, have asked that we move forward at Campo with initial studies in partnership with DOT to explore the possibility of making those improvements through tolling of that road. I think that's something that's a big deal to a lot of people. It's not really our part of the region, but it's not that far away. I think a lot of folks that live in eastern Wake County use those roads. So we did move forward and approve unanimously moving forward with the study to look at the options, and that could mean anything from tolling some new lanes, tolling all the lanes, not moving forward with that at all and waiting for the state process to be able to fund the expansion at another time. But it seems like high level, the concept is that tolls could accelerate that project by a decade or so, to where in the 2030s that project could become, early 2030s, that project could become a reality and be under construction. So if that's something that any of y'all, especially board members and folks in Wendell, if you got an opinion about it, I'd like to hear from you. I mean, ultimately, I'm happy to defer. My first point of thought is to defer to some of those local governments, especially as we're just in the planning step. But as that becomes a bigger thing, that is a road that folks in our region use. And if you got a strong opinion about it, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Eastern Wake Senior Center, Commissioner Deloach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This past meeting was an onboarding of some sorts for new board members, also including 2 new spots for community members. So that was exciting to see. Normal discussions about where we've been, where we're going, fundraising, that kind of thing. Talked about town partnerships. And one of the things that we kind of dove into a little bit was statistics, just about the center's gotten better about who's visiting, where they're coming from, just some demographic type information. I shared a little bit about microtransit, upcoming extension, the fact that Nightdale will be included as well, so I'll be interested to see how those numbers may change. But 2-hour plus, full house, good crowd, and lots of good discussion. So great things to come there. 55 plus, if you're interested. It is not, as they say, it's not an old folks place. It's an aging population, and there's a couple of us that are currently eligible. So I'll be there soon enough, I suppose. That's all, Madam Mayor.
And the Wake County Fire Commission, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Fire Commission met last Thursday and discussed, we're already into 2024 budget conversation. Along those lines, Wendell had a reserve engine back in October that had a fire event on it. The reserve engine matters because if one of our 3 frontline trucks goes out, the next thing that we have to put in rotation is a ladder truck. Fire trucks are, generally speaking, about $1 million up for pretty much anything you see that's a red box. It starts at $1 million today and goes up. The bigger problem is that they're also about 3 years out on production, so ordering something today gets it delivered in 2027. So you can see where having a fire on a reserve engine is a lot more of a complicating factor. And working with Fire Commission and the Wake County Commissioners, they voted last week to approve $737,000. I'm going to get that number wrong, but it's just above $700,000 in addition to funds that the fire department had received related to that truck. And bump up Wendell to a 2025 delivery date for a new fire engine to replace that reserve engine. So appreciate Wake County using our fire tax revenue to help us create that opportunity. That will get us a new truck a lot quicker. The other is we receive a report at the Fire Commission each quarter about working fires in the area. We want 16 firefighters on the scene within a defined amount of time. And historically, there are a couple of communities, including Wendell, that have places that are within our fire jurisdiction but have challenges. For us, it is Campsite Drive, which is a mobile home park near the Siemens campus that just happens to have about 37 speed bumps inside of it. So once you get the fire truck in there, it doesn't matter if you get the fire truck there within 3 minutes, you've got 5 minutes worth of speed bumps. So there's some interesting points in that data. I say all that to say Wendell was almost a minute below what the countywide standard was on response to fires, what we call them as fires that matter, fires that were actually fires, and we got people on scene. And that will help. With the other piece that we did was restructure Wake County Fire Commission's policy on new stations, and I'm happy to report that the way that the language was rewritten, I believe, will be beneficial to Wendell. And even if you don't know where it should go or where it should be, start talking about anytime you talk to other county commissioners about Wendell Fire Station 4. We'll figure out the rest of the details, but we need to go ahead and start getting commitments on the next one. And certainly appreciate their help on the fire truck. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, we'll go into our commissioners' comments and stay with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, ma'am. Tomorrow night, if you don't know what you're doing for dinner and you'd like to support some of the same kids you just saw here a few minutes ago with the Wendell Rams, Wendell Elementary School is doing McTeacher Night at McDonald's. So you can go see your favorite teachers and staff serving alongside the staff at McDonald's and help raise money for Wendell Elementary School. That is one. The second thing I want to comment on tonight is just to acknowledge the passing of Sarah Glad. Sarah's a local who is married to Robbie Glad, who's the general manager at Wendell Country Club. Sarah's a friend of mine, a friend of several people on the board from her days at the General Assembly. I would encourage all of you to hug your little ones tonight. Tell the people that you see tomorrow that you care about them. And when you come across anyone that you don't know what's going on in their world, don't make assumptions that you do. There are a lot of people, this morning was a big reminder for me that there's a lot of people that walk around with a lot of things all the time. I cannot imagine the loss that Robbie feels for Sarah or the long-term impact that Sarah's legacy will have on our community, and I know that it will be a brightly colored, beautiful one that really pushes all the good in the world, because that's who Sarah was and that's what Sarah did. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lutz?
I was going to say, just not to stay on this kind of train that Commissioner Joyner started off, but we also lost a wonderful Wendellian, Dr. Hester, who my kids don't know a lot of history in Wendell, but they know Mr. Hester from Hootie to Owl. And they can remember being little and going down there and meeting him one time, and just such the impact that made too. And so I know he had a lot of impacts outside of Wendell, just statewide too. So just thinking of him and his family too. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Eatman?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple weeks ago, several of us had a chance to spend a little bit of time on a Friday morning on the Bailey Farm in Wendell with our friends from the county, Triangle Land Conservancy, of course, the Bailey family. And if you haven't seen about it in the news, happy to talk to you about it more. But ultimately, the Bailey family was able to protect their family farm here in Wendell recently through a partnership with the county and Triangle Land Conservancy to find a financially reasonable solution for their family that protected the land. The land will stay in agriculture permanently through a conservation easement, protect the open space, protect the farmland, protect Buffalo Creek. I'm really excited about the project. I think there are a lot of other really great land conservation projects going on around Wendell, and just want to emphasize to anybody who's a property owner in the county or in the community, or people who have thoughts and questions about how growth works, that there are options for landowners to decide what's best for them and what's best for the future of their property. And I'm excited to help folks happy to help folks understand all the options that are available to them, whether that means a conservation easement that brings money to a family's pockets so that they don't go broke trying to save the family farm, land acquisition targeted toward parks and green space and greenways, both from us and the county and the state, the federal government all put in a lot of money to protect open space, especially around our water bodies like Buffalo Creek and Marks Creek and Little River. Excited about those kind of projects working hand in hand and in tandem alongside the growth that we have. I think Wendell's a really good example in becoming one more and more every day of how growth and conservation really can work hand in hand, side by side, and I'm excited about where that's going to leave us in the future as a community.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
None tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple quick things. Thanks for the presentation tonight on the assessed values. Just want to remind people again, we're going to hammer this point home, I guess. Assessed values does not mean automatic tax increase by that same percentage, so keep that in mind. It is a math problem. We did discuss math here earlier tonight too, so Mark gets jazzed up for the budget. So obviously we need the data, we're gathering the data, and as you heard, there's a process in place if you have any questions. I had 2 conversations today with folks about it, so just know there are resources out there. I'm happy to answer any questions. Had an opportunity to judge science projects at Wendell Elementary this past week, and that was pretty exciting. I made it pretty clear when they asked me that I was not really a science guy, that I'm more of a math guy, but it was fun, and it was cool to see the projects. A lot, if you ever wonder about the future, judge a science projects at the elementary school, and we're in good hands. Our future is safe. And I do want to clarify, Wendell Boulevard McDonald's tomorrow night. I want you to be able to go home tonight and not get yelled at, so. And then Commissioner Eatman touched on the Bailey Farm, which was, that was a great day, it was an exciting day. A handful of us were there. It's really a great thing, and I've had a conversation. I actually called Commissioner Eatman last week to get a little more information about it. He's the guy, and we've been talking about it. But I did have a conversation with a property owner about it. So I think people were surprised to hear me say that. I think I said you don't always have to plant keys and grow houses on farms. So there are other ways to go about it. So that's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, that was exciting at the Bailey Farm. I think they said it was the largest one in the state. So that's pretty exciting for that to happen in Wendell. And there was a lot of interest out there and some neighboring farmers that maybe will do the same thing and join right up to it. I attended last week the Imagine Wake Alliance. Our speaker was a developer who the only thing that this group does, their business model is single family for rent. The reason this came about was based on a discussion of our group about something that we're all familiar with, all municipalities, where things are getting approved, usually very dense developments, typically townhomes, but not always. And then they are for sale, but then they get purchased and they wind up for rent. So which really isn't, it's really not what they're approved for in the public hearing, but they are sold, and that's what happens. And a big swath of them will be approved that way. So they had someone come in and talk to us about that, and about these are single-family homes, neighborhoods for rent. They stayed that way. They have homeowners associations, and this group owns them and continues to own them forever. So they're building their own product, and they own them. And they see it as a housing option that is a little less expensive for a homeowner until they're ready to buy. So we don't have one of those here. It's interesting to hear about. The consensus of the people in the group that are more in the know about it was that this trend is kind of going down about the homes, the townhomes being bought, and all the, you approve something, it gets built, and then all of a sudden they're all gone because they've been bought by an investment group and they're being rented. So maybe that's model is not as popular as it was, but that was the point of our meeting, and it was very interesting to hear from that group. We have experienced that one time happening here. I also judged the science fair. I had to come in later than everyone else because I was at that meeting, and wow, the projects were really great. I can't remember the grades I did now, and I don't even want to tell you, but I had 2 grades that I did, and the winners are going to represent Wendell Elementary School at the next level, and we certainly wish them very good luck. First, second, and third place will go on to the next, and so good luck to them. Meet on Main planning is starting this Wednesday night for next year, so stay tuned for dates and bands and details and things like that will be announced in the coming weeks. And I, too, wanted to mention Dr. Gene Hester. Dr. Hester was a personal friend of mine. He and I went and traveled and visited Hootie some, and he took me out Lake Wendell in his boat, and he told me the names of every plant and animal that we passed the entire way to where you see Hootie while we were sitting there and then on the way back. He is a lifelong educator and teacher, and I adored every moment I spent with him. I have for many years now gone every summer to his birthday party. And I went, in fact, to this most recent one this past summer. And he turns 90-something. I can't remember the exact amount. Doesn't matter. He was always charming, and I will miss him very much. He was one of those, he's a fine, fine gentleman. I will miss him very much. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn in honor and memory of Sarah Glad and Dr. Jean Hester.
All right, we're adjourned.